Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, the last Council of State meeting under President Goodluck Jonathan holds at the Presidential Villa with all former heads of state attending. Council strategizes on national security, also confirms Mr. Solomon Arase as Substantive Inspector General of Police. Senate seems to be heading for a final collision with the Executive Office, set to overturn the President's veto of the 1999 Constitution. And more protests in Burundi as protesters and the police clash. 2 police officers fire gunshots towards demonstrators. Tonight in business news, the Naira tracks rally in crude oil price as the United States dollar weakens.
Participation for 2015 Channels National Kids Cup.
Over 20. That's the number of times President Goodluck Jonathan has presided over the Council of State meeting since he assumed office as President of Nigeria. And today, in what's his last time as presiding officer, the President was praised for his courage in office and his uncommon act of accepting defeat following the presidential elections. The first to arrive was the former military president Ibrahim Babangida, followed closely by the president-elect General Muhammadu Buhari and others, except former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who arrived 30 minutes into the program. Security was discussed at the meeting, with the members seeking more support for the armed forces in tackling insurgency in the northeast. The council also ratified the appointment of the Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arase. He becomes the first substantive IGP to be ratified under 1 month. With this appointment, President Goodluck Jonathan has worked with 5 Inspectors General of Police in 6 years. Our State House correspondent Chukwu Maunekusi reports.
The council chambers comes alive after the presidential elections as President Goodluck Jonathan and past heads of state and presidents converge for the last council meeting he will be presiding over as president. The mood was cordial and peaceful as they congratulated the outgoing president, Dr. Jonathan, and the president-elect for being magnanimous both in victory and defeat, a situation they say has set the tone for the peace Nigerians are enjoying today.
A motion and a thank you and a gratitude motion was moved by General Gowon, reiterating all the beautiful things that have happened in the Council of State and thanking Mr. President and all the members of Council for their contribution in the development and unity of Nigeria, particularly the responses of both President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan and the President-elect General Muhammad Buhari. Goodluck Jonathan in his acceptance and concession or conceding defeat, and the magnanimity of the acceptance of the victory by General Buhari.
The success recorded so far in the fight against Boko Haram was also discussed by the Council of State.
When Boko Haram emerged, it was a new phenomenon, and the military or the security agencies could not cope with it because nobody anticipated it. But that it took time for them to address it because they were getting together, trying to get the collaborations of some surrounding African countries who hitherto Nigeria have never had or shared intelligence with them on security issues. But now all of them are on board, and so it became easier for us to witness what we have witnessed, where we have Cameroon, Chad, and even Mali and Sudan collaborating with Nigeria in order to fight this insurgency.
President Olusegun Obasanjo, who joined midway into the meeting, also joined in the group photo, perhaps an indication that politics and its attendant roughshods are over, at least for now.
Politics is not war. Yes, there is a prize, but the moment a decision is taken on who gets the prize, then everybody should come back and wait for another chance. So the esprit de corps or the camaraderie that you noticed, this is how it should be.
On the transition date of May 29, Council observed that Nigeria will be entertaining visitors from all walks of life and should exhibit a transition program that will be the envy of many nations.
The handing over of documents from one committee or from the president to the incoming president will take place on the 28th. The inauguration will take place on the 29th.
Nigerians are watching and waiting to see how these leaders will make this friendship that they have found in the council chambers after the presidential election trickle down to the followers in the near future. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has said that future politicians and Nigerians have a lot to learn from President Goodluck Jonathan and General Muhammadu Buhari in future elections in the country. General Gowon, who spoke to State House correspondents after the council meeting, praised the two politicians for their statesmanship, particularly the outgoing president for conceding defeat and putting a call across to his opponent, the first of its kind coming from an incumbent. According to General Gowon, the act has gone a long way towards the deepening of the process within Nigeria, which it has sought for over years.
Thank you and well done to two great people, President Ebele Jonathan, for conceding the time he did and brought about the peace that in fact we started to enjoy during the election. And then, of course, General Buhari for accepting the victory in such gracious way and determined to do well with the government. So really, I think, as I've said, two people, let us say thank you to them for making it possible for us to have the peace. So far, the election was peaceful. The Nigerian people really, I commend them for what they did to ensure it was a peaceful election that brought about the result that some were expecting, some were not expecting, but it was accepted with such grace and such sincerity. Now you can sort of see the way they relate between themselves.
President, are we actually deepening the democratic process?
Absolutely. That is the whole reason for that to be done, and it helped the democracy, to continue and to be strengthened for the future. This is the first time in Nigeria that any leader, had really conceded defeat in such gracious way. And that really helps the democracy that we want to. And I hope future election and result would be respected by whoever is.
Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon. And following his confirmation, the new Inspector General has told State House correspondents that his main task will be to upgrade welfare of members of the Nigerian police force. He also promised not to renege on his earlier commitments towards ensuring the elimination of roadblocks.
There is no society that is actually crime-free, but we are trying to ensure that it is within tolerable, levels, and that is exactly what we are going to do. It's not as bad as the public perception. We already have an enforcement policy in place. 16 teams have moved out across the length and breadth of the country to ensure that there is strict compliance to that order. And besides that, you said what I want to tell my men. Their welfare will be, one of my cardinal responsibilities. And you don't motivate a workforce except their welfare becomes paramount in your. So I'm going to ensure that their welfare becomes is put in the front burner. To Nigerians, I know the expectations are high, but I can assure them that no Nigerian will suffer any injustice by my inaction or my action.
In part two, after the break, the PDP crisis deepens as two serving governors threaten to form a new party. That's in a moment. Do join us again.